This is a bar of material that is Viking Age or possibly earlier. Um, my guess is that the top part here is iron and the bottom part here is steel. And they were being forge welded together, and for some reason the forge weld was never finished. So my plan is going to be to finish the forge weld and make a couple of knives out of this. And a couple of them are going to be sent to my friend Petr Florianek for finishing, because I think his style is really uniquely suited to finishing out something this ancient. There's a couple of really cool things going on in this bar. There is a hot cut here on the end. There's the artifact of some folding on the very end here. What I'll be doing is grinding into this gently and giving it a bit of a polish and an etch. I'm going to try to figure out whether this is iron and this is steel like I thought. And if that's the case, I'm going to be forge welding the bar shut and using it to make some very, very cool pieces with. The end here has a slight line on the corner there, and the line follows down into the rest of the bar. This is very, very indicative of the sort of line that you see in material as you're folding it. The end of the bar here, you can see it better on this side. It has these faceted sort of, it looks faceted, which is from the hammer blows from forging. There's also deformation here. You can see that this piece on the edge is thicker where my hand is and thinner near where my pinky is. And the line is right here. This material has been upset during the hammering and forge welding. This piece is very, very interesting, and it shows a lot about the techniques and the manipulation. So I actually went and ground and etched and polished a section of the bar here. And what I found is actually different from what I expected. I thought this was going to be steel on the bottom and the top was going to be iron. A lot of the pieces we find in the archaeological records show us that iron was used for the body of a blade and the steel was used mostly just for the edge. But this is the opposite. This entire bar up here is steel, whereas the bottom is iron. And I have a couple ideas as to why that might be the case. The end of this bar, it has been hot cut. There's a pretty clear sign of using a chisel to cut off the end. But this was done after the bars were forge welded together. What I think happened is that whoever was making this forge welded this piece, cut off a little chunk, made something out of it, realized it wasn't right, and gave up. I think the reason that's likely is because of the fact that this bar with the chiseled off end, that chiseled part was done after this was forge welded. So what probably happened is whoever was making this cut off a little piece, forged it in the direction they were expecting it to be forged, and made a blade out of it, and it ended up with iron on the edge. And the back was steel, and they realized that they had wasted a bunch of material that they didn't intend to waste, and likely put it off to the side to be fixed and worked on later, and that never happened. You can see here there's a couple of the marks from the grinding, from when I was trying to figure out exactly what was going on. The sparks in the photos are from this part here, which is all iron, and the parts over here are all steel.
And this is how they look right now, thousands of miles away from Emiliano's forge and 1,000 miles closer to the original forge of the Viking Age smith. I have started on the handles. They are not fitted obviously yet, and this one's gonna be Emiliano's with a little bear and burning motifs as he requested, and this one is gonna be available for purchase. I would like to talk a little bit about the rationale of the continuing creating those knives, and about the obvious question if we would go with full Viking replica. And we have decided that we would do something a little bit different, very related to that, but a little bit different, and it would be just continuing the tradition as Emiliano took the work of the smith and finished the weld and forged and ground and polished and hardened those blades. We would take the artwork of the period and continue the tradition. So this would be a plausible piece of Viking art, but it would be a continuation of the tradition. This would be available for purchase, one of them, the biggest one, and it will have this ancient billet blade, forged, hardened, polished by Emiliano, and now it already has this white, beautiful moose antler from Lithuania, so likely close to the original find of the billet, and it will be carved and it will have silver ferrule and pommel, and it will have beautifully, hopefully, crafted sheath. So this is the first notification about the project. You can inquire about it, and I will continue to work on this as my schedule allows. But I'm very excited about this because this is somehow like a very clear manifestation of what I'm trying to do, trying to pick up the craft and art of the period and run with it, sometimes crawl with it, but just be a part of the tradition, be a folk artist of disappeared folk. So this is where we are now with the project. Thank you very much for looking, and have a great winter.